morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio, so today we need to take a little bit of a look at, Temporal Forces. You see, we've had the European International Championships. That happened, that's a thing. It was fun, I enjoyed it, I was there. But that was the first set we had Temporal Forces legal. And we've got a bunch of results to show exactly how good some cards are and some cards, at least as it stands at the moment, aren't. And basically, it's time to take a look at the set and go, alright then, the set's out there. It's being played. It's been out for a few weeks. The initial new set hype has died down. What is going on with the price of all of these cards? Are we seeing jumps? Are we seeing falls? And let's start off with Iron Crown, because this was a big story when the set came around initially. The Iron Crown, especially the Special Illustration Rare, was seeing, frankly, a big jump in price because it was deemed to be a very playable card, and this was a very good print of it. Cool card, rare print, very playable, being good. What's happening? Obviously, it's falling. Shouldn't really surprise anyone at this stage. Had a big jump up to $100. It's now down to about $85. No, that's not terribly cheap. Yes, that is still a decent amount of money, don't get me wrong. But we're past that initial hype. Now, maybe part of the reason is that this deck did not do as well at European Internationals as a lot of people thought it might. And that is a fair point to make. But as it stands at the moment, that is going down quite nicely. It is not a cheap card, but it is going down. What about these other Special Illustration Rare Paradox Pokemon? Because there are a few of them that were commanding a few quid. Well, Raging Bolt, similar thing, but a little bit sharper. Went up to $85. It's now down to $60. It's dropped by about a third. I know the market price is showing at 68, but the last three sold to 60, 64, 65. It is very clearly still on the way down. Right now, about $60 seems about right. Sorry about that. And look, I'm personally delighted about this, because artwork-wise, in terms of the Special Illustration Rares at least, this is my favourite card in the set. Love Raging Bolt as a Paradox Pokemon. Love the card. In terms of playability, you got single energy, discard your hand, draw 6, great for setting up. You got 2 energy, 70 damage for each basic energy you discard from your Pokemon, and you can do as much as you like. It's a very, very, very cool card. I like it very much indeed. But it is still very much on the way down. Is this showing around all the Paradox Pokemon? Yeah. If we take a look at Walking Wake, another one with a bit of hype. Now that's gone from $60 down to about $48. 2 of the last 3 solds are $48, and it's clearly trending down. So I'm comfortable calling it a $48 card. And as a fun little side note, at European Internationals, the lovely Joe Merrick, he of Cerebi.net, and we went to the Play Lab. Joe absolutely destroyed me at the video game. We played a Scarlet and Violet battle with rental teams. It did not go well. Don't worry, I beat him at TCG, obviously. But video game, he absolutely rolled me. And then in his prize pack for rolling me with Walking Wake, he pulled Walking Wake Special Illustration Rare. Irony was strong, did not enjoy it. But then I got my own back with TCG and it was fine. And the other couple, we see Gouging Fire. And this one took a sharp jump up, and a little bit later than some of the others. Well, jumped up to 55 after being as low as 38, and now it's down to, look at the recent solds. You're talking about a $45 card. And what we're seeing all across the board from these Special Illustration Rare Paradox Pokemon is sharp jump on release, and then going down. And look, this is what we see kind of all the time. I do think it took a little bit longer for them to kind of start coming down than normal. But this is why I always do my videos where I tell you guys not to go buying singles early on. buying singles early in the set cycle is generally a very bad idea. And, you notice here, it really took until April, really last week for it to start going down again. But it is now going down, and it's probably going to fall a fair bit yet. I mean, look, $40, that's the low we've seen so far. Look at some of the other playable special illustration rares. I mean, you might think $40 seems fairly reasonable, but take God of War EX, the one from Scarlet and Violet, that we know to be a really, really good playable card. Yeah, that's a $20 card right now. How about Miraidon EX? Another very, very playable card from Scarlet and Violet. You may notice that one is a $15 card. So, sure, $40 seems cheap. It's actually still way too high. Don't expect this one to be selling at $40. And I know the rumours are abound that the pull rates are a bit lower. These special illustration rares are a bit harder to get. Maybe that's true. Maybe that pushes the price up a little bit. But seeing this at like double the God of War, I'm not buying it, honestly. I am not buying it. Speaking of which, if you go back to Scarlet and Violet, you can get ones like Great Tusk, for instance, or Koraidon. They are kind of hilariously cheap. Like your Great Tusk, the special illustration rare, which I did actually pull at EUIC last year, weirdly, from a pack Pokemon gifted me. That is a $5 card right now. The Koraidon, another stunning card, one I don't actually have, that's a $10 card right now. It's very cheap. Now, weirdly, the other one that was attracting a little bit of value was Iron Leaves. That one didn't even go through the pretense of jumping up in price. That one has just been on a straight downward trend since the set came out. And honestly here, you're talking $40 card from a 90 start, we're down to 40 and it's still dropping. And yeah, people like this as a Charizard counter, and we did see this, incidentally. We saw this in the final of EUIC. It's not like this is some unplayable card. This was literally seen on the table in the final of the European International Championships, but the reality is, this one is just not clicking with people. Maybe it's because if it's played, it's only as a one-off tech. Maybe it's because people just don't like Iron Leaves as much as some of the others. For whatever reason, this one is really not clicking. Although, speaking of really not clicking, I'm a little bit sad, but I think I have to acknowledge this, as much as it makes me sad, and I don't really want to talk about it, honestly, but I do need to mention Iron Boulder, the cheapest of the special illustration rare Temporal Forces Paradox Pokemon. Yeah. Has actually jumped up ever so slightly, but it's like a sub $25 card. I picked up the full art of this at EUIC because that was the card I revealed was the full art, but I'm going to get the special illustration rare at some point, but I'm still not paying $25. And it's not because I don't think the card is worth spending $25 on, it's because I am absolutely convinced, is this really, and bearing in mind Iron Bolt, it's an occasional one-off tech in future box lists. It does see a little bit of play, but I think that's probably going to drop over time, honestly. The reality is $25 is still way too high for this, and that's one of the things to bear in mind. Like, I'm coming here a few weeks after the release, after the first big tournament where the set was legal, but I'm not telling you, hey, they've gone down, bye. I'm saying, look, they're going down, and that's lovely. Wait, still. You should wait. Now, we're going to get on to the special illustration rare supporters in a minute, but I just want to address the Ghastly in the room right now. I told you the other day, when this randomly jumped up to a $40 card, it was weird and made no sense. There was no reason for this. And yeah, I know Ghastly is a popular Pokemon, blah, blah, blah. That being a $40 card made no sense. I told you at the time it made no sense. It's back down to a $20 card. And $20 for an illustration rare is still very expensive, let's be clear, but it is at least a bit more sensible now. And if you notice, it's very much on the way down. Looking at the graph, I do expect this to keep falling, but that Ghastly at 40 quid always seemed extremely weird to me, And the good news is it is falling down quite nicely, which is lovely because as a $40 card, that was weird. The next highest illustration rare, if anyone's wondering, is actually fairly predictable. It is Chinchino, because it's a very playable card, it's good in Lugia. But again, if we have a look, it got as high as $15. It's a sub $10 card. And again, this is a very playable card. This is a great card. And if you're playing it, you're probably playing 3 or 4 of it, and you probably want the illustration rare. So Ghastly is a little bit like, come on, mate. But I will say this one, yeah, that actually does make a lot of sense. I can understand this. So what about the special illustration rare supporters then? Are we seeing a similar kind of thing here? Short answer, kind of. You see, here's the thing. Bianca's Devotion, which was the big card in Japan, yeah, it's dropped from $60 down to $35. Pretty much just a straight downwards trend, and it's leveled off, but it kind of crashed pretty hard and then leveled off. Okay, fine. Makes perfect sense. And if we have a look at Airy as an example, which is another one, great card, great art, seeing a bunch of play, exactly the same deal. Big crash on release and then kind of leveled off. Dropped from a $43 card down to a $25 card. But again, this makes sense. It's a good card. It's a playable card. But special illustration rare supporters as a whole, they rarely stick above $25. So this all makes perfect sense to me. But let's finish the video looking at Morty's Conviction. Because Morty's Conviction did the whole dropping on release thing, and now it's gone right back up. But look at the last couple solds. Lightly played for 45, and then near mint 2 at 90. Sorry, 1 at 90, 1 at 100. Morty is confusing me, frankly, because I'm not entirely sure why Morty's doing this. It doesn't necessarily make a huge amount of sense. Because what? I mean, $55 is too high, but people have been paying 80 and 90. And if we have a look, we go dig a bit more into the last sales, you'll notice it was ticking along at kind of a $40 card, and then randomly, a couple of days ago, people just started jumping from 45 to 90. Like, basically overnight, people went from paying like $45, $50 to $90, $100. And that is generally, not guaranteed, but that is generally a sign that somewhere something's gone on. If we're assuming everybody's nice, we go, oh, there were a couple of people that overpaid for whatever reason, and then everybody else jumped on the bandwagon. If we're not assuming everybody's nice, we're going buyout. Essentially, the deal here is that there was a buyout, which means somebody went and just bought all of them so that they could then resell them at a higher price, and they were the only ones selling. If we have a look at recent solds on eBay, we do not see the same kind of thing, frankly. The last 2 solds were 55 and 64. Still slightly higher, but something's going on with the TCG player prices here. Yeah, Morty seems to have jumped up, but I'm not entirely sure we should be buying it right now. Right, there we go. That's what you need to know, and now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about these cards. What have you picked up? What have you pulled? What's on your list? Tell me what you want. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel like the lovely Kiridan, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.